All right, man. What's good? This is your guy Manny, and this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. We're gonna talk fantasy football, and we're gonna have a good time as always. So, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys' fantasy teams are doing well. For those of you guys that are going to be catching the replay, please be sure to like, subscribe, share. Help me get this content out to the masses. But we're gonna have a good time, man. I'm excited. I'm off work today, taking care of baby boy. So I might have to get up and get him when he starts crying. But other than that, all is well. I'm gonna run my intro, and we're gonna get started. So, waiver wire adds week 14. For most people, week 14 is the start of your playoffs. For some, it's week 15. So, is there really any gems left out there? But before I get into the gems, let's go ahead and talk about Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill letting everybody down come Sunday night. Let's go ahead and talk about Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs letting everybody down. It happens. It's one of those things that happens, and I don't know why it happens, but it does happen. So I'm going to pull up my notes. I'm going to run through some players that I feel could possibly help your team win coming up. So big injuries. Have there really been any big injuries so far outside of Kamara? Whether he can play or not. Christian McCaffrey. A lot of you guys that drafted RB heavy the first 2-3 rounds are possibly suffering right now. For those of you guys that drafted 0 RB, you're probably winning right now, especially late into the season. For those of you guys who drafted a guy like Javonte Williams late, you're now starting to reap the benefits of the fruits of Javonte Williams exploding onto the scene. Obviously, Melvin Gordon is still there, but Javonte Williams is as good as it comes, and he's going to be a league winner for you. If you have Javonte Williams on your team, rest assured that he's really going to help you win some championships. I'm in plenty different leagues, some good, some bad, but you just kind of have to adjust. Imagine having Christian McCaffrey moving up in the draft, trading everything you got to get a Christian McCaffrey, and then he's nowhere to be found, right? Imagine drafting Saquon Barkley in the second round. He's nowhere to be found. So for those of you guys, like I said, that have drafted these running backs early and it hasn't paid off, don't worry. Things are going to get better. When does it get better? I really don't know. Honestly, don't know. But you have guys like Carson Wentz. He's out. Mac Jones and the Patriots, they're out. So really for the Patriots, you're not really missing anything outside of a Damian Harris, maybe a Ramondre Stevenson, who has been a godsend. I think he's going to be great in Dynasty moving forward. But as I ramble here, let me go ahead and pull up my notes so we can, dive in and dissect some waiver ads. Since my notes are pulling up, let me continue to eat my breakfast or brunch. I don't even know what it is right now. Breakfast, brunch, I don't know. But I decided to stream right now instead of later, just because I have more time now than later. And I'd rather give you guys some content than give you guys no content whatsoever. So, moving along. And I have several leagues where I started out pretty bad, but then picked up some momentum as the weeks went on. Lots of good performers this week outside of guys like Javonte Williams, and then some not so good ones as well. Let me see. Let me pull this thing up. Y'all bear with me. Is anybody else upset or angry with Courtland Sutton? I don't know what his deal is, to be honest. What is Courtland Sutton's purpose in life? Because it hasn't been to play football this year. Like, Courtland Sutton has been so bad to be honest. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm going to pull up week 13. Week 13 was great. Can't even lie. So the QB1, you know how I do. I always like to give the QB rankings, RB rankings, so on and so forth. So Kyler Murray was the number one quarterback this week. And I had somebody asking me, should he start Kyler Murray or Carson Wentz? It's a no-brainer. Any quarterback that has the ability to run the ball, you pick that guy over a traditional, I'm going to pass the ball kind of guy. And I picked those guys over guys like Stafford. Even though Stafford has been unbelievable this year, Stafford has the touchdown ability. He has the ability to score touchdowns, opposed to a guy like Derek Carr, who's great in getting those yards, but he doesn't get you the touchdowns, right? So Kyler Murray was number one. Tom Brady was number two. And Tom Brady is another one of those guys. Not only does he get yards, he also gets touchdowns. So look at this is a league right here where touchdowns are 4 points, okay? Passing touchdowns, that is. Tom Brady had 368 yards, 4 touchdowns, right? But he had less points than a guy like Kyler Murray who didn't do much. Now give me one moment. Sorry about that. Phone keeps dying because of all the notifications that I get daily with fantasy and this and that. And that's the beauty of, covering sports, being a content creator, perfecting your craft. You gotta know what's going on. So I have all kinds of notifications from all over, updating me on sports, updating me on who's playing, who's not playing, injury reports. This is one of those years where I actually valued like practice reports. I've been one of those guys. Baby boy's crying. All right, let me get him. 1 second. Got my baby boy. So, what was I saying? Yeah, I've never really valued injury reports or practice reports until this season. I said I wanted to take my game to a whole new level, and I've been doing that. You got to be aware of what's going on. You got to look at trends. You got to look at who's getting upticks in targets. There's so many different things that you can do to become a better fantasy player, but nothing you do is guaranteed. I want to go ahead and say that. But it is good to look at trends, whether you're a person who plans or whether you're a person who doesn't plan. It's just always good to kind of look at the trend. So that's something that I've prided myself on this year. And it's boded well for me. It's been excellent. I've been able to really become a better fantasy football player. People say, hey, Manny, man, you're pretty good. You're decent, and I appreciate that because fantasy football is something where no matter how great of a manager you are, the players do what the players do. Like, you will never hear me trying to bet on a game. You know why? Because I have no control. I have no control on whether my team wins or not. And a lot of people talk trash. I love to talk trash when it comes to fantasy football. But the thing is, you can talk trash all you want and guarantee all you want. It still does not, things might go your way. And I've seen it time and time and time again. Y'all bear with me. I'm re-pulling back up my notes. My phone died, so I have to go ahead and get that charged up. But I'm going to pull up. I was talking about how Kyler Murray can only pass for 100-plus yards, but then run the ball and get a rushing touchdown, and then he outscores a guy like Tom Brady, who had an amazing day. That's the beauty of fantasy football. That's why I always tell people, you take the running quarterback over a traditional passer. Always. You know why? Because of things like this. I mean, especially in the leagues that don't value passing touchdowns, like leagues that, passing touchdowns are only worth let's say four points, yeah, then you want to take the running quarterback every single time. That's why guys like Jalen Hurts have killed in this league. And a guy that I picked up Taysom Hill. Okay. I already have Matthew Stafford, but Taysom Hill is a guy who runs the ball. He's going to give you more upside just based off of him running the ball. Now, picked up Taysom Hill, didn't really need Taysom Hill, but guess what? He can be an asset for me, right? Now, we look at what Taysom Hill did last week. He ran the ball 11 times for 101 yards. That was amazing. He had 264 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, but he also had 4 interceptions. Now, those 4 interceptions could have hurt somebody else, but for a fact that Taysom Hill runs the ball so well, he was able to recoup a lot of those points back in the form of, running the ball. Because when you throw 4 interceptions, in most leagues it's -2, right? That's -8 points. But Kyler Murray was the QB1, Tom Brady QB2, Justin Herbert 3, Taysom Hill 4, Stafford 5, Zach Wilson 6, Goff 7, Cousins 8, Roethlisberger 9, Gardner Minshew 10, Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow with 11 and 12 respectively. And these were the guys that were your QB1s this week. Now, out of this list, what jumps out to me? What jumps out to me is Zach Wilson with 22 points. Okay. What jumps out to me is Jared Goff with 20 points. These are guys that are on the waiver wire. You can go ahead and scoop these guys, especially if you have a Carson Wentz and he's on bye week. Even in one quarterback leagues, everybody is stacking up on quarterbacks right now. So that way you have to struggle in terms of bye weeks or injuries. This is the time when you start to load up on quarterbacks. I'm in a league where I have Carson Wentz and Tua, and both guys are out. So now I got to go a guy like Zach Wilson. I got to go some kind of rookie, and that's a 14-man league. So it's really, really dry out there in free agency, but I believe that these two guys can possibly help you. Jared Goff is a gunslinger. He's one of those guys that can just have a good day on any given Sunday. It's just that, does he have the weapons? Does he have the protection? Does he have time to make these passes? So those are things that you have to worry about with, Jared Goff. Kirk Cousins was right outside that threshold of a QB1. Kirk Cousins has been solid all season. I love what he brings to the table. Roethlisberger had a surprise game. Gardner Minshew was great. I'm sorry. Kirk Cousins was a QB1 this week. I'm just so sorry. I'm all over the place. But, this is the time of year where you're looking for, who to start. I'm going to be doing a Starts and Sits episode, hopefully either tomorrow or Thursday. Y'all just stay tuned to the YouTube channel. I'm also going to get this out to Facebook as well. I'm not going to put this on audio version, but so quarterbacks to look at. Andy Dalton, if he's out there, just because there's going to be some injuries, there's going to be some uncertainties. You don't know what's going on. Gardner Minshew is probably already rostered. If you're a Jalen Hurts a guy, you got to have Gardner Minshew on your roster because you need quarterbacks. You need quarterbacks at this point. You got Roethlisberger out there. He's probably already rostered. Tua's on a bye week. So, it's really, really dry if you're looking for a quarterback. Matt Ryan might be out there. So, you're going to have to just take your chance with a rookie, it seems like, this week if you're looking for a quarterback to add. Now, we get into the wide receivers for this week. I'm going to go through the top 12 this week. Those will be your wide receiver ones. Justin Jefferson had an amazing week, 11 receptions for 182 yards and a touchdown. He had a monster game. That was 35.6 points a game. If you had Justin Jefferson this week, you most likely won your week. I was a Justin Jefferson owner. I sold him in 3 leagues, and I kept him in 1. So, it's looking like a mistake right now, but sometimes you got to make trades to stay afloat. I traded Justin Jefferson to get Nick Chubb because I needed running backs, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Deontay Johnson was the number 2 wide receiver this past week. 11 targets, 8 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Deontay Johnson is matchup proof. Deontay Johnson is one of the best wide receivers in the league. I'm telling you guys, like the team that I won with last year, I had Justin Jefferson his rookie year. I had Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin. Now, mind you, some of these guys were not consistent, especially a Cooper Kupp last year. But being a keeper league, being that I traded away Deontay Johnson and I traded away Cooper Kupp, it's like, man, why did I keep Amari Cooper? So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But Deontay Johnson has just been magnificent this year. Chris Godwin, another guy that I was big on. Everybody was saying, oh, Tampa Bay has all these weapons and whatever. You take a guaranteed weapon like Chris Godwin. This guy is going to hit over 1,000 yards this year and possibly double-digit touchdowns if he continues at this pace. This particular game, he has 17 targets. 17 targets, 15 receptions, 143 yards. Chris Godwin was a dog. He was another guy that had 30 points. It was 3 members of the 30-point club, which is Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, and Chris Godwin. Coming in at number 4 was T. Higgins. Everybody who has had T. Higgins is insane. When is the T. Higgins train coming? When is he going to happen? When is the T. Higgins? When is he going to, come out here and start to ball and do some good things for us? He's done it now 2 weeks in a row. He had 14 targets, 9 receptions, 138 yards, and a score. He had 28 points. Cooper Kupp came in at number 5. Cooper Kupp has just been amazing this year. He had 10 targets, 8 receptions, 129 yards, and a touchdown. Let's go ahead and look at Cooper Kupp's numbers this year. Week 1, 23 points, then 36 points, 30 points, 11, 16, 34, 37, 24, 20, 23, 18, 26. Cooper Kupp has been as consistent as it comes. And as of today, Cooper Kupp now has 100 receptions, 1,366 yards receiving, and 11 touchdowns. Like, I don't know what to tell you about Cooper Kupp, man. Cooper Kupp has just been amazing. Like, the guy, this is the Cooper Kupp that I saw, that we all got to know and love 2 years ago. And that's why I traded for him. And, had to let him go after he underperformed last year. But I didn't know that Cooper Kupp teaming up with Matthew Stafford was going to be a marriage made in heaven. This guy right here has just been magnificent this year. He's throwing up some mad points. And if you have Cooper Kupp in any league right now, you're possibly winning. One of the deals that I made before the season started was I traded Corey Davis for Cooper Kupp. That was an amazing trade. In the few dynasty leagues, I do own Cooper Kupp, and he's just been doing some great things for me. Let's keep going. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he had a great game. 10 receptions, 86 yards and a score. He came in for wide receiver 6. 7 was Keenan Allen. 8 was Russell Gage. 9 was Elijah Moore. 10 was Deontay Harris. Speaking of Russell Gage had him a day. He had 11 receptions, 130 yards. He had 22 points. I believe he fumbled once, or he would have had 24 points. A big day for Russell Gage. For those of you guys who have Russell Gage and have had Russell Gage, he's going to start to produce for you guys. He's going to start to pay dividends for you guys. So great guy to have. Great guy to have on your roster right now. He seems to be hot. He's going to be out there to be picked up in free agency, waiver wires, and things of that nature. He's available. Coming in at number 11 was Tyler Lockett, and coming in at number 12 was Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow has been great this year. He has 9 receptions, 102 yards this past week versus Washington. It seems like, he caught pretty much all the receptions from Derek Carr. He was really, really good. But Elijah Moore has been very, very good. And I'm not going to lie. This week I benched him for the simple fact that I had Jalen Waddle. I'm not benching Jalen Waddle. And, at the end of the day, one guy plays for the Jets and one guy plays for, Miami. So the guy that plays for the Jets plays with a quarterback that hasn't really done much. But over the last several games, here's the game starting from week 7 for Elijah Moore. 10 points, 13 points, 27 points, 13 points, 29 points, 9 points, 20 points. Elijah Moore's here to stay. He seems to be a guy that's going to be a double-digit scorer in fantasy. He's going to be a nice flex on most days when he scores touchdowns. He's going to be in that high, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. on certain weeks. But for the most part, you can expect anywhere between 10 to, let's say, 15 points consistently out of Elijah Moore, the way that he's going right now. He's starting to get targets. In the last 3 games, he has at least 8 targets. And, in each of those last 3 games, he had 11, 8, and 12. And, I mean, the game versus Miami was when he just broke out, had 11 targets, 8 receptions for 141 yards and a touchdown. So Elijah Moore has been great. He's going to continue to be great. So he's a guy that you want to roster. But in terms of adds and drops, you want to go ahead and pick up Russell Gage. I was a guy who dropped Russell Gage maybe 2 weeks ago. Big mistake, but it is what it is. Deontay Harris is out here, but he's suspended now. So unless you're playing Dynasty, Deontay Harris is a good pickup. But in redraft, no. I mean, him being out 3 games, I don't know how many games it is, but he's out for a while. Jakeem Bran had a decent game, had 7 points. He had 5 receptions, 62 yards of a score. He might be a guy that you go ahead and dive in deep for. KJ Osborne, with Adam Thielen getting hurt, I don't know the ramifications of that injury. So maybe KJ Osborne might be a guy that you want to go ahead and scoop. I think he has potential to put up some numbers because at the end of the day, Justin Jefferson cannot catch every single ball. He's not going to do that. Man, what's good, Joshua? Appreciate you hopping on the show. Joshua says, if Swift comes back, should Barkley or Swift start? Ooh, that's good. I think he goes Swift. You know why you go Swift? Because Swift has been way more consistent than Barkley. Barkley, we don't know when the breakout game is coming in. Right now, they've lost Mike Glennon, who was the backup to Daniel Jones, who they also lost. And now it seems like Jake Fromm might be the starting quarterback for the Giants come week 14. I don't know yet. I don't know what happens with that situation, but I just can't trust Saquon Barkley right now. He's giving you nothing. He's giving you, low double digits, 10 or 12 points a game, but I would rather go Swift if he's fully healthy. Now, if Swift is not fully healthy, then it's a 50-50 chance. But when you look at what Jamal Williams did last week, it wasn't amazing. It was not amazing whatsoever. They used other running backs, and it was one of those situations where they used multiple people. So I would use Swift this week for sure if he's healthy, if he's fully healthy. All right, let's keep on going. So, yeah, KJ Osborne is somebody you want to go ahead and pluck. He's available. Sammy Watkins had a decent game. He might be out there, in those deep leagues. Jordan Humphreys, with Deontay Harris being out for New Orleans, the pecking order is probably going to be I can't think of his name right now. Traquan Smith, then Jordan Humphreys, especially based off of matchups. They are playing the Jets, and Taysom Hill is the quarterback, so you gotta. It's something that you gotta figure out. But Jordan Humphreys has scored 2 touchdowns the last 3 games, so keep that in mind. He had 7 points, 7 points, 12 points. So at least with Deontay Harris being out, you can say that Jordan Humphrey can possibly be a guy that gets increased targets, maybe 5 to 7 targets, maybe 4 receptions, maybe 60 yards in the score. So I'm not saying that he's an amazing option, but what I am saying is that, hey, if he's out there and if you're looking, he's a possibility because he just moved up into the pecking order as we speak. But you can't really trust that offense. It's going to be run heavy, especially if Alvin Kamara comes back and he's fully healthy versus that lowly Jets defense. So look for Taysom Hill and Kamara to run the ball. So with the pass catchers for the Saints, the choice is yours. Michael Gallup might be available in certain leagues. I understand that, CeeDee Lamb is back. Amari Cooper is getting back. He's ramping back up to being healthy. Michael Gallup is still a guy that can go out there and produce for you. Van Jefferson could be possibly available in some leagues. Some people still don't trust Van Jefferson just yet. If he's available, you scoop him. Jalen Guyton had a pretty good game. But you really don't – you know what? Jalen Guyton's stock just went up. I forgot. I'm sorry, guys. Keenan Allen has COVID, and we don't know if Keenan Allen is going to be available come Sunday. So Jalen Guyton is going to be that guy that takes some of those targets that Keenan Allen would normally get. He had 4 receptions last week for 90 yards, and the score was a beautiful strike from Justin Herbert to Jalen Guyton. So that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was amazing. So you want to go ahead and grab Jalen Guyton if you can. I think he's going to be a pretty good pickup, especially if Keenan Allen does not play on Sunday. Now, let's go ahead and move to the running back position. Give me 1 second. All right, looking at the running back position, you had Javonte Williams, who came in as RB1. He was amazing. I mean, this guy almost had 200 yards from scrimmage total. This guy had 178 yards total, 102 running the ball off of 23 carries and 6 receptions for 76 yards and a score. This is the Javonte Williams we've been hoping for, and we are finally getting to see Javonte Williams unlocked. So we don't know what's going to happen with Melvin Gordon coming back, but it's starting to look like Javonte might be getting 60% of the touches, and maybe Gordon 40%. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you got to invest in your young guy to see what you have. I think next year they move on from Melvin Gordon. I don't know where Melvin Gordon ends up, but I think that Javonte becomes that guy. David Montgomery had a great game himself. He had 28 points. He had 90 yards rushing and a touchdown, and then 8 receptions for 51 yards. David Montgomery, man, he's picking up where he left off last year. And if you have David Montgomery, he might be a guy that helps you win some leagues for you this year. Jonathan Taylor has been amazing. He had 24 points, came in at number 3. Jacobs at number 4. The amazing thing about Jacobs is that he's been receiving the ball the last few weeks. This week he was targeted 9 times. He caught all 9 receptions for 38 yards. 38 yards is not a lot, but guess what? 38 yards is 38 yards, and 9 receptions is 9 points. So it doesn't get any better than that, especially when you're playing PPR. So I would take that any day of the week. He also had 13 carries for 52 yards and a score. Coming in at number 5 is Leonard Fournette, who's been amazing the last few weeks. Let me go through the numbers for Fournette. Last 4 games, 17 points, 13 points, 44 points, and 22 points. One thing I can say about Leonard Fournette is that he's become a really good receiving back. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I'm going to pull up some shocking stats at the end that's going to blow some of you guys' minds. But coming in at number 5 was Fournette. Number 6 was Antonia Gibson. Number 7 was Sony Michel. Antonio Gibson has been another guy that's played well the last 4 weeks. He has 21 points, 7 points, 23 points, 22 points, and he's starting to get rushing yards. You know, last week he had his, season high of 111 yards rushing. This week he had 88. This guy now has 800 rushing yards in the league, and he's the number 1 leader in rushing yards in the NFC. So Antonio Gibson could very well be a league winner for you. I've been hard on Antonio Gibson, being a Washington fan. I mean, he gave us, 5 solid games and then 3 games of mediocrity. Then it's kind of like, where do you go from there? And not only that, he has one good game and then another bad one. So it's like, but now he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to protect the ball. He's limiting his fumbles. And, things are looking good. Things are looking good for Antonio Gibson. So feel confident with him moving forward. Number 8 was Alexander Madison. Amazing. Davonte Freeman, number 9. Number 10, Gainwell. 11, Connor. And 12, Travis Homer. Look at Travis Homer making it as an RB1 this week. Hey, they might be, you guys might be onto something. Maybe Travis, Homer is a guy that helps you moving forward. He had 3 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. I get that. That's the scary part. But the good part of this whole thing was that he was targeted 5 times and he caught 4 receptions. That's 4 points right there. That's 4 points right there. So Travis Homer could be a guy that helps you down the stretch. I'm not saying start him in the playoffs, but we'll see when the starts in 6 episode comes next week. Eli Mitchell was just right outside of that. Austin Eckler was there with 17 points. This is a really good week for running backs. Like, I keep going down the list, and I see guys that had, 15, 17, 16, there was tons of guys who had 15 points or more. I'm not going to count and let you know how many. Saquon had 13. So it was just a really good overall day for running backs. Even guys like Tevin Coleman had 10 points. He's available out there in the free agency. Go scoop him because he seems to be the guy right now. Ty Johnson has been totally phased out. Devontae Booker is the guy to keep an eye on because he's getting some of those receiver work. He's getting some of that third down work. Cordero Patterson has been great. Although he only had 12 points, but hey, it's hard to get 12 points sometimes in PPR. And, Cordero Patterson is that guy that can go off for you. He did have 27 points last week. This week he gets 12. So Cordero Patterson has been one of those guys that's been helping a lot of guys win their fantasy leagues. And it's pretty amazing to me what he does on the consistent basis. Davonte Freeman might be available. I mean, he was a guy that I picked up and dropped because of roster space, and then he goes up for 20 points. So I was kind of mad about that because had I stuck him into my starting lineup, I might have won one of the two leagues that I dropped him in. Who else? Kenneth Gainwell. You could be on with something with Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, he's back to relevancy, 19 points, 5 receptions, 33 yards, 12 carries, 54 yards, and a score. So, like I said, this overall good running back play, you should be able to find one in free agency. Even a guy like Mike Davis, he had a good game, So, I mean, you can find a running back this week. Darrell Williams, it's another guy, just because of how Kansas City likes to play. So tons and tons of guys on the waiver wire to go ahead and scoop in terms of running backs. But like I said, running backs had a great week. I mean, when you go down from top to bottom, there were 24 guys who had at least 10 points. 24 running backs had at least 10 points. When was the last time that happened? That hardly ever happens. So 24 guys getting 10 points or more, I'm pretty sure you can find you a running back in free agency. Moving on along. Let's go hit the next position group. And I'm going to do some overall stats, and we'll wrap this thing up. We're going to do tight ends. This week, you had George Kittle with an absolute monster game, targeted 12 times, 9 receptions, 181 yards, 2 scores. He had a whopping 39.6 points. George Kittle is the guy that destroyed me this week, and it hurt. It hurt. Dallas Goedert looks really good with a quarterback that can accurately pass the ball in Gardner Minshew. So, yeah, Dallas Goedert had 28 points. If you had one of these two guys starting, you pretty much won your week. I mean, you pretty much won your week. There were only there were only 3 tight ends that had over 20 points in fantasy, and one was George Kittle. 2 was Dallas Goedert with 28, and then Rob Gronkowski with 21. TJ Hockenson came in at 4. Logan Thomas came in at 5, and then he got hurt. Logan Thomas' injury really hurt because he was on his way to even a bigger day than 13 points. Tyler Conklin came in 5, then Gesicki, then Brock Wright. I don't even know who that is. I don't know who Brock Wright is. Then Evan Ingram. I'm going to just stop there. There's no need going down to 12 to giving you, the top 12 tight ends this week. It was a horrible week for tight ends, to be honest. And there were only like 8. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There were only 9 tight ends that scored at least 10 points. But 24 running backs scored at least 10 points. So it was a really bad week. Gesicki, saved his day with a few receptions here and there. Tyler Conklin, Logan Thomas. It was just the poorest day for tight ends. So really, you didn't get affected by tight ends this week just because they all sucked, except if you played George Kittle, Goddard, or even Gronkowski. Everybody pretty much survived the TJ Hockenson beatdown of 14 points, but you couldn't survive the 28 points from Dallas Goedert or George Kittle. I was actually mad because I had Dallas Goedert benched in 2 of my leagues. Crazy. I mean, I had Hockenson in both. So what do you expect? I thought I did right. Happens like that sometimes. So moving along. No need doing kickers. No need doing defenses. Just because with kickers, you just kind of go. You have to go with the flow. Like there's no way to figure out which kicker is going to be good. Like Detroit's kicker had 13 points. Go figure. Kansas City's kicker had 13 points. Who knew that the Kansas City's kicker and the Lions kicker would be on that same type of level? Yeah, kickers are a game changer, though. I would say that. I've had Nick Folk for most of the year, and Nick Folk has been great for me. Now, when it comes to defenses, I will talk defense because at least defenses, you can strategize just a little bit. I like to start the defenses that are going against guys like the Jets, teams like Houston, against teams like the Giants. Those are the kind of defenses that I target and I play. I stream those guys. So this week, I would say the Titans are good because they're playing against the Jets. The Jets Titans are playing against Jacksonville. Yeah. So each week I kind of look at the Detroit Lions. I look at the Jags. From time to time, even Seattle when Seattle was playing so bad. So really, with defenses too, I mean they're all over the place, to be honest. So you just never know which defense steps up. Like for example, the Chargers had 20 points, and they were going against Cincinnati. So go figure. Who knew that Cincinnati would play bad and the Chargers defense would be good? So sometimes you just got to just be random with it. Indianapolis had a good game, 18. Dallas has been solid. Dallas is a solid defense. All in all, they play Washington, and they may or may not have success. Even though I'm a Washington football fan, I'm a realist. I keep it real. I tell the truth. If they get a pick six or a fumble six or they get a few turnovers, they can possibly be in double digits. But then the flip side is with Washington running the ball so well and taking care of the ball the last few weeks, if they run the ball and control the clock, it could be a really, really long day for the Dallas defense. So when it comes to defenses, man, just do what you do. Really cannot even advise you. But let me go ahead and look at some overall stats, and then we'll go ahead and shut this thing down. It's going to kind of surprise you on who's doing what. Because sometimes I like to look at it to kind of see who's doing what, because, things change. Things change, things happen. So I'm going to give you the top 5 quarterbacks right now as we speak. Number 1 is Tom Brady. 2 is Justin Herbert. Jonathan Allen at number 3. Jalen Hurts at number 4. And Matthew Stafford at number 5. If you told me coming into the season that Matthew Stafford would be better than Patrick Mahomes, fantasy-wise, I would say that you're crazy. But as bad as Mahomes has played, he's had those games. He's flashed. He's had those games where he goes off, and then that helps to put his numbers up there, because he's one of those guys that can still go for a 5 to 6 touchdown game passing the ball. He's been bad this season. Even with Mahomes being bad, he's number 6 right now in overall fantasy points out of all the quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts has been pretty good when it comes to fantasy. He's at number 4 because guess what? Jalen Hurts runs the ball, and he runs the ball very well. He has 8 rushing touchdowns. Almost 700 yards rushing. So that's always going to boost his numbers. Like Jalen Hurts, when I look at the top 5 running backs in the NFC, I think Jalen Hurts is number 5, number 4, number 5. He's just that good. He's what Lamar Jackson was, for the Ravens. But at least Lamar Jackson was winning games. Shots fired, but I don't care. Like I said, I like to keep it real. But looking at Matthew Stafford's numbers, man, this guy has 30 passing touchdowns. And he has 9 interceptions. And that's very comparable to Tom Brady, who, if you look at Tom Brady, he has, maybe 100 more yards. Like when you look at the yards between Stafford and Tom Brady has 3,771 passing yards. Okay. Stafford has 611. Okay. So there's a little bit of a gap there. When you look at the touchdowns, 34 touchdowns for Brady and 30 for, Stafford, 10 interceptions for Brady, and then 9 for Stafford. You look at the rushing numbers, Tom Brady has 52 rushing yards for a score, and Stafford has 39 for no score. But don't be surprised if this thing flips before the year is over between Stafford and Tom Brady. It's kind of hard to go against Tom Brady, but Stafford has just been playing so well. Who knows? Maybe OBJ gets into a rhythm with this guy, and these two guys, go out there and challenge Tom Brady for the league passing yards and the league lead in touchdown passes. But yeah, I think outside of Tom Brady and Stafford, nobody else has 30 touchdowns or more this year. Let me look at Kirk Cousins, because I know he's pretty close. Okay, Kirk Cousins has 25 passing touchdowns, but then he also has 3 interceptions. But then people want to roast Kirk Cousins. They want to roast Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is playing unbelievable. 3 interceptions for Kirk Cousins. Am I reading this right? Yes, I'm reading this right. Wow, Kirk Cousins only has. That's why I do these things, and I go back and look at the overall stats, and I look at people, because sometimes you have to take a step back from being a content creator or a fantasy football player, and then just look at the stats as the dust starts to settle. Yeah, wow. That's amazing. I'm definitely going to be doing a post about Kirk Cousins. Man, 25 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Wow. That's amazing. Those are better numbers than Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking strictly numbers here. I'm not saying that Kirk is better than Aaron Rodgers, but when we're talking numbers, we talk numbers. Dak Prescott is pushing for that same type of thing. But yeah, Kirk Cousins has been great. He's been great. I mean, it is what it is. So at the end of the year, we're going to see those guys that are, top 3 in passing yards, touchdowns, and things of that nature. We go to the wide receivers, and I can guarantee you that Tyreek Hill and Adams got to be in the top 5, right? Tyreek Hill is number 3, and Davante Adams is number 5. Now, because Deebo Samuel missed a game, he dropped. If Deebo Samuel didn't miss a game, he would probably be above Justin Jefferson right now. So right now it's Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson in at number 2. Right now, Justin Jefferson has 78 receptions for 1,200 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. You're going to see a lot of guys shatter some wide receiving numbers this year because already we have 4 wide receivers that already have 1,000 yards already. I think it's going to be a record year for 1,000-yard wide receivers. It's a barring injury, knocking on wood. Injuries could always happen and change the whole dynamics of everything. But Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, and Davante Adams. Out of these 5 guys, I have 4 of these guys all across my leagues. I have no Davante Adams. Yes, I do. I have 1 league with Davante Adams. I want more, but Godwin is there at 6, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, Waddle. Man, it's amazing to see Waddle up here in the top 12 overall. So great things are happening, man. Great things are happening. And then Cordero Patterson, because he's listed as a running back or a wide receiver, you don't know where he's at, but he's also a wide receiver 1 if you consider him a wide receiver. But wrapping up with the stream, I'm almost done. It's some interesting things. Can Mike Evans get another 1,000-yard season this year? We'll find out. We will find out pretty soon. But when you look at the touchdown lead, Cooper Kupp has 11, Tyreek Hill has 8, Jefferson 7. But it's really who else is going to step up? You have Mike Evans at 10. You have Thielen at 10. I mean, I respect those guys, obviously. But it's like, is anybody else going to hit that double-digit club? Or who's going to be that guy that steps up with these last 5 games and maybe get a touchdown in every single game and then boost their stats? What if a guy like Terry McLaurin goes for 5 touchdowns the next 5 games? I'm just saying. Something crazy like that is going to happen. The guys that you think are the most consistent guys, maybe Cooper Kupp doesn't get another touchdown. Maybe he gets 2 touchdowns these last 5 games. I don't know. But what I am saying is that it's a lot of football left to be played, and there's going to be some crazy things that happen along the way. Let's go ahead and look at a few position groups, and then we're out of here. All right, we look at the running back position. Let's see who's out here. All right, so, of course, Jonathan Allen is number 1 right now. Eckler 2, Mixon 3, Fournette 4, Najee Harris 5, Cordero Patterson 6. I mean, it's amazing. Derrick Henry is still in the top 12 of running back points overall. But the biggest surprise out of this top few teams right here has been the emergence of Leonard Fournette jumping into RB4. He's doing what David Montgomery did for me last year in the exact same league that I have Leonard Fournette. I was able to get Leonard Fournette for a steal of a deal, and I'm still excited about that. But yeah, Cordero Patterson is here because, like I said, it's like, what do you consider him? Is he a running back? Is he a wide receiver? We really don't know at this point, but he's a football player, and hey, he's getting things done. Zeke Elliott is still up here. But there's some guys that I feel like are going to jump up in this list as the season goes on, and that's Antonia Gibson. Right now, he's listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Gibson is a number 11 running back right now. I want to go ahead and say that Gibson is going to be a top 5 running back in fantasy when it's all said and done. Why? Because the reception numbers are starting to pile up. Also, the interesting stat that I said I was going to share with you guys earlier was when you look at receptions for running backs, Somebody told me that J.D. McKissic, led the league in receptions for running backs. That's not true. It's actually Leonard Fournette with 58 receptions. Najee Harris, 57. Austin Eckler, 56. I was like, there's no way that he would have more receptions than Austin Eckler, but I had to look up that stat about J.D. McKissic. J.D. McKissic does have 43. He could have had more. Had he played this week, he probably would have been at 50, which would have put him, in the top 5. But I think that JD possibly, if he misses this game, then I don't think he'll have a shot to be top 5. But if he plays this next game coming up versus Dallas, I think he has a chance to end up top 5 in receiving, in receptions. But tons of good receiving backs out there. Austin Eckler leads. Actually, Austin Eckler and Cordero Patterson are tied for 518 yards exactly for the lead in reception yards for running backs, if you consider Patterson a running back. But pretty cool stuff, man. Pretty cool stuff. Let's look at the last position group, which will be tight ends, and then we'll be out of here. All right. So looking at the tight ends, Travis Kelce has been bad the past few weeks. Then I say that, then I look at the stats, and the stats say otherwise. The last 4 games, 17 points, 19 points, 18 points, and then 5 points. I guess we're spoiled. We're spoiled at what Travis Kelce brings to the table. He's still good. He's still tight end 1, but it's not by a wide margin. He's tight end 1 overall by just 10 points to Mark Andrews. But that's just how bad the tight end position has been this year in terms of points. It's been underwhelming. When I look at this group and I say to myself, who are the guys that have a chance at 1,000 yards? Obviously, Travis Kelce, maybe Mark Andrews, because he's at 811 yards right now. He has 5 touchdowns, which is pretty good. TJ Hawkinson, he doesn't get 1,000 yards. Kyle Pitts has a pretty good chance. He's at 709 right now. And even then, Kyle Pitts is way at the bottom because he only has 1 receiving touchdowns and he only has 49 receiving yards. So that's why he's way at the bottom. Guys like Hawkinson and Gesicki, those guys get more touchdowns. Dalton Schultz has been amazing. George Kittle, just off of that one amazing game, he's now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. George Kittle is tight end 6, and he's missed a ton of games this year. He's missed 1, 2, 3. He's missed 3 games, maybe even more. There are some games that George Kittle got hurt in. But in the few games that George Kittle has played, he's tight end 6. So that just tells you that the tight end position is still struggling. It's not as elite as we thought it was. But the good thing about this year's tight ends was that he was able to get a lot of tight ends on a weekly basis that would give you over 10 points. And that's all you can ask for out of your tight end position. So anytime you can go ahead and get you a tight end, you go ahead and do that because these guys can be difference makers. Like Pat Freiermuth, I love him. I think that Freiermuth is going to be a good tight end for years to come. We look at tight end receptions. It's the top 3. Again, it's Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and TJ Hawkinson. We look at yards. It's Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is going deep on a lot of routes, and he's split out wide a lot. So we don't know what Kyle Pitts actually is. When you look at touchdowns, I believe nobody has more than Hunter Henry has 7, Dawson Knox has 7, and Gronkowski has 6. But bold prediction, Gronkowski ends the year with the most receiving touchdowns for a tight end. And second would be Pat Freiermuth. I don't know. I just like Pat Freiermuth. I just think that he brings a lot to the table. He's really, really good. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, the drops and ads. We looked at stats. We looked at overall stats. And hopefully some of these stats can help you guys to make some off-season trades when it comes to dynasty football. But, I will catch you guys on the next stream. I will catch you guys on the next episode. Don't be surprised if this happens tomorrow. All right. Peace.